So in this video I'm going to show the books that I am going to be reading the couple of weeks ahead of me, or actually the approximately 1 or 2 weeks ahead, because after that, alhamdulillah, I'm not going to be in Sweden, I am going to be on board. So in these weeks that I have left here to spend in Sweden, for at least for a couple of months ahead, I am going to be reading some books which are related to the courses that I'm taking in the university. I just I had like my lunch / dinner, but I came back from the university and I returned one of the books that I actually have showed you recently. It was called Different Gods by Raymond Breton, I think. And so that book I have finished, and it belongs to one of the courses that I have in front of me. So that's like what I have read just until now. And then also the corporate finance has been quite a lot of sort of reading as well. And then today I started with this book, which is also belonging to another course that I have. It's called the Anthropology of Islam, which is like, I have shown this book before because I borrowed it from the university like maybe last week or something. But I started to read this book today, and one of the interesting things about this book is, I mean, I haven't read even half of it, but I started at least to read it, is that it actually sort of addresses the movements in the Salat, in the Islamic prayer, and sort of explaining from one Muslim's perspective what it sort of has for meaning in sort of a symbolic or metaphorical explanation to the different life phases, you know. So that was a very interesting thing, because that is like what I already been thinking, but I've been associating it together with how you would go about and do the Surya Namaskara in yoga. For example, in Surya Namaskara A, that's what I'm sort of referring to. So yeah, so this book seems interesting. I mean, I have to read it because it's part of the one of the courses that I'm taking. But then, because lately, since I was reading about corporate finance and also about power in global governance, I sort of been, wanting to sort of get more understanding and sort of the, what is there to know about money as a form of value and as a form of exchange value, because when you think about money, you can do something very bad and you can get money for that energy that has a negative effect, and you can also get money for something that has considered a positive effect, for the society and so forth. But it still is money that you're getting for, regardless of what you're doing. So that means that, individuals maybe become more obsessed about money than what they actually getting that money because of, what is the exchange value in, sort of what are they exchanging to get the money for, So two of the books that I sort of picked up because I thought that I want to see if I have the time to read at least part of it. One of them were called The End of Money and The Future of Civilization, and it's by Thomas Greco, I think that's how you would say. And this one, this is like the back information here is like saying that like the proverbial fish that doesn't know what water is, we swim in an economy built on money that few of us comprehend, and what we don't know is hurting us. So I think this one is just sort of going to address some of the negative aspects of money, like the causes of money, like that has a negative impact, So, and it's a very simple read, like the text is very simple. So, I mean, it's going to address some of these, like different financial theories and different things, and sort of give the understanding of what they sort of have for, like what is the meaning of some of these theories in the finance. Why are we using options and all these things, and what kind of consequences does it have? And I mean, I thought the title seemed quite intriguing because it says the end of money and the future of civilization. So I thought this one seemed very interesting, And then, similar to the same theme, I picked up this one, which is called Globalization and the International Financial System, What's Wrong and What Can Be Done. And this one is written by Peter Izzard. Okay, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. But it is published by Cambridge, and Cambridge is kind of considered to have a lot of credit as a university. So yeah, it's just going to address, because one of the courses that I have now in the spring is going to, actually many of the courses that I have in the spring is going to address partly, or it's going to sort of, it's going to have part of their theories and material is going to be, talking about globalization, basically. And so, I mean, I have read about globalization and so forth, but I have read about globalization from certain angles and certain perspectives. And lately, when I was reading this Powering Global Governance, it sort of gave another perspective on globalization. And so I think this book is sort of going to give that form of other perspective that I haven't really dived too much into, because so anyway, this one, it also has a quite interesting content. It has, it's going to talk about the rise and fall of international monetary regimes, which was something that was established, in the transit between 1800th century and 1900th century. It's going to speak about the Bretton Woods system, which was also something in the 1900th century, and it's going to just go over some. I mean, I haven't read this one, so it's kind of hard for me to say anything, but also to speak about the International Monetary Fund. And these things are quite something I sort of have already started to read about and have sort of expanded my understanding for. But these are really interesting topics, so there is quite a lot of things here. Like, also because I have studied public health, and one of the things in public health is that it's often about, humanitarian aid, like doing some form of health intervention. And the problem with that, well, there is problems in that, So I hope this book is going to address some of those, sort of how money is flowing and how it is controlled, and how different systems are established for what reasons, So on the back here, it sort of is mentioning that this book provides perspectives on various aspects of the international financial system that contribute to financial crisis and growth failures, and it discusses the remedies that economists have suggested for addressing the underlying problems. It also sheds light on a central feature of the international financial system that remains mysterious to many economists and most non-economists: the activities of the International Monetary Fund and the factors that influence its effectiveness. So let's see. First of all, the author to this book, he also gives sort of a, just a short notice about what he is. He's a senior advisor at the International Monetary Fund, where he has worked since 1985, and yeah, so he has that background. But I think in one of the other books that I read, there was one individual who had been working, I think, for the International Monetary Fund, who was very critic to things, how it was operating. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting to see, you know. And yeah, so there's just, I mean, I will see how much time I have reading these books, because I mean, the spring term is not yet started for me, so I have like, before I'm traveling, I'm gonna try and get done as much of the spring term when it comes to the literature aspect as much as I possibly can. So when I'm reading for the spring term, I'm just taking notes, so I can refer back to the specific page where I'm getting the information from, so I can do all of my assignments even if I don't have the books with me. And but on the side of that, since many of the sort of topics that is going to be included in some of the courses that I have is sort of tying into this, I always like to sort of read slightly a bit out of the field as well, because that is actually one way of getting higher grades. Because if you're only reading the course literature, well, it's going to give you the specific stuff, but to have a fuller understanding of the topics that is going to be, you know, included into the course, but just on a partly scale, it's quite good to sort of, you know, especially when it comes to these society related topics, because there is never, if you don't have the full holistic perspective, well, you're not gonna understand anything. Like whatever you write is not going to be giving the holistic perspective, so it's quite essential to have that, you know, bigger form of perspective. So yeah, so I'm going to, when I go to the gym today, I'm gonna read this book, which is by Steve Bruce, and it's called Secularization. And I have showed this book before, but I didn't start read it yet, but it's very simple text, so I'm, you know, estimating to have this one finished within some, you know, within just these coming days, because I have to take so much notes, so that is one of the reasons to why it take longer for me to read it. But this one is just addressing how, you know, Western European nations or states, and also North America, sort of has made a transition from Christianity into secular institutions in the society. But this also is sort of, you know, giving an understanding for how, you know, these, for example, other Eastern religions, how they can, you know, be functioning in the society that has a secular frame. But actually, I must say that, okay, secularization can have its problem, but one of the sort of consider, you know, positive things that has been sort of raised is that if there is a pluralistic amount of religions in a society, then maybe a secular sort of foundation of the institutions can actually have a positive effect, you know, on the you know, ways that the different religious groups can sort of practice in the society and be present and represented, you know. But I think that because the when you're also looking at how the aims behind the secularization, and also the sort of transit into other forms of institutions, I mean, there's always pros and cons of these institutions that sort of is shaped, and and also the fact that, you know, they are not always neutral, even if they are secular, because there has been quite large influence in West Europe from Christianity over quite a long time, so you will notice that there is still certain things. And I mean, all these institutions also have you know, it has like an underlying episteme where what is the knowledge that we're building these institutions on. So I think it will be interesting to dive into that one, but this is something I'm going to read at the gym, and then I'm gonna try and also finish this book as fast as I possibly can. So I will have time, hopefully, to read into these books. And I also have 2 other books that I need, sort of, or was it 1 or 2? Actually, I think it's only 1 book, but now I don't know where. Where is that book even? Okay, so I have 1 book that is about Islam and capitalism, which I'm gonna try and read if I sort of have time, because that one is not for any of the courses that I have, but I got it from the university, so I'm just going to, you know, or I lended it from there, so I'm gonna try and read that one as well. But I think there was 1 other book that I have, but I don't know where that book might have been going. Okay, so anyhow, I have quite a lot of books, but I just wanted to show these sort of ideas of reading things, you know, to sort of expand your sort of social knowledge, so society related you know, subjects and stuff. And so yeah,